And we're back on Federal News Network. I'm Jared Serbu, and we're talking with Lily Zelicki, the acting Deputy DoD CIO for Information Enterprise. And Lily, I want to pick up kind of where we left off before the break, which is talk a little bit more about cloud and JWCC. Wonder how that's going to play into all the work the military services and other DoD components have already been doing on their own. They each have their own basically enterprise contracts, and my sense is they've done a pretty good job so far of herding all of their cats into a relatively manageable number of cloud contract vehicles. Hopefully that at some point makes it easier to shift everybody into JWCC. But what does that process look like from your perspective once there are actually awards and the department really can say we have a department-wide vehicle?
I think that's a fair question and perspective. That, like I said earlier, the department and the military departments and the services have been doing cloud for a very long time, which has actually informed what gaps and what potential urgent unmet needs we have, like Tactical Edge, Oconus Cloud, for example. It's informed that. And I really believe, and really the truth of the matter is all of our JWCC, including the services cloud offerings, bring something to the table that we all need. So JWCC is a complementary capability and not something that is trying to take over what the services are doing already, to your great point of they are doing it really great. So we want to make sure that it's clear that JWCC is a complementary capability. And of course, as the services continue to sort of run out the contracts and the JWCC meets certain of that need, we certainly want to onboard the services to the JWCC contract. But I really honestly believe there's so much that we need to do. And based on everything we talked about in our software modernization implementation plan aspirations and goals, that every single one of us, one of the cloud capabilities are going to be required. And as we evolve, of course, we'll converge to certain capabilities. But I really believe we have set the groundwork based on the services offerings already. And then what JWCC brings on top of that is going to make us even stronger.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's still really no plan to make this mandatory or to be prescriptive and tell people you must use JWCC, right?
Not at this stage, because of all the reasons that I've explained. It is important to note that they're complementary, and I really believe that there will be enough requirements to meet with all of the contract vehicles.
And let's talk a bit about securing this enterprise. The DoD Zero Trust strategy, as I understand it, has an entirely, I don't want to call it separate, but dedicated course of action, really just thinking specifically about commercial cloud. I understand DoD is actually already talking with the providers about how Zero Trust would play in their environments. Talk with us generally about how important Zero Trust is in this context and where it fits in cloud and the overall DoD information enterprise.
I believe Zero Trust is the undergirding imperative to where we're going to the cloud and software-based capabilities as the norm, DevSecOps as the norm. Zero Trust is imperative to, which is basically data-centric cybersecurity versus network-centric. We can't just rely on protecting the perimeters. Now we really have to go on a data basis and application level at all layers of our requirements, and the cloud makes that manageable. But ultimately, it's going to have to be Zero Trust based, and the department takes that very seriously. And that's why you mentioned talking to Randy Resnick and our Deputy Cybersecurity and CISO office here in DoD CIO. And we have the Zero Trust Portfolio Management Office that has been stood up. That's how seriously we take this, and it's going to be the way forward. They go hand in hand. The DevSecOps is integrating that security, cybersecurity, with the process where you're delivering secure at every stage from end to end. So I think, and the other piece is zero trust is not sort of a widget that you put on things. It's really a requirement and a way of doing business, cybersecurity. So I just want to put that out there.
And when JWCC first starts delivering capability, do you think zero trust, or at least some elements of zero trust, are going to be baked in from the start, or is it going to kind of need to evolve into that over time?
Parts of and the way we do business today, for example, identity management, ICAM, these cybersecurity requirements are already embedded in our system. So that's why I say zero trust is not a widget, or is not something you just put on to the cloud. It is really a conglomerate of requirements, cybersecurity requirements that are going to be that are part of our system already, but that will evolve to make us fully compliant zero trust, which I believe is in the next 5 years or so. We should be there, but as we move with JWCC, some of the requirements are already embedded in the way we do business today.
Gotcha. Building the cloud environments is only part of the equation, of course, as hard as it is on its own. But then you got to get people to adopt the cloud. There's some customers, I'm sure, that are clamoring for it, some not so much. How do you think about cloud adoption, or encouraging cloud adoption throughout the department?
So I really believe cloud adoption is the way we look at it. It's like we let's move to the cloud. I think it's mission based. I really believe we have migrated quite a bit of mission requirements to the cloud as appropriate. But part of it is also from a DoD or the department standpoint, we also have many capabilities that I think you've heard us refer to the technical debt, but I also look at it as capabilities that we already rely on that have existed for a very long time, that may not necessarily be postured to very quickly. It's not a lift and shift kind of thing. There's a lot of assessment that has to go into this, and some of them may not make sense to move to the cloud. And also when we talk to the cloud, there's the on-prem clouds, private clouds, and then the commercial cloud. I think with JWCC, we're talking commercial cloud. But I think there's an in-between also where you might be able to do a hybrid. So these are the kind of things that we have to really look at when we talk to, adoption of cloud or migrating to cloud is, what capabilities and sort of where are we trying to get to. Some of them may not necessarily make sense to really spend the resources, or technically may not even be a viable option. So that's really where we're at as a department right now. Really, we need to get after where we can make sure that we migrate the ones that we are able to, and then future work obviously must continue in the cloud. But also, how do we sort of do the hybrid kind of thing to uplift and to modernize what we have today, the technical debt we call, and also sort of consolidate, rationalize these capabilities to enable us to sort of continue to do our business as we utilize the cloud for future requirements. It's really a multifaceted matter. It's not just about just picking up a capability and just migrating to cloud.
Only about 3 minutes left before we have to say goodbye. And I want to make sure we get to a little bit of the rest of your portfolio outside of cloud. Tell us some of your biggest challenges, or some of the biggest things you're working on in the rest of the IT environment that you oversee, whether that's transport, whether that's 5G infrastructure, whether that's, maintaining those legacy systems. What takes up most of your day when you're not thinking about cloud?
A lot of my portfolio revolves around cloud and software modernization, and really the technical debt I talked about. I think defense business systems is in my portfolio, and that's one of the areas. Investment IT portfolio management is in my portfolio, where I really believe all of these things intersect, because our defense business systems also are really the backbone of all of our military's capabilities, our ability to do war fighting. So that is an area also I'm very much focused on, from just the bigger picture of what we deliver in the information enterprise. And ensuring that we modernize our defense business systems and the way we do business and the way we manage our investments. In that area is big in my portfolio. Also, mission partner environment, which also ties to enabling our mission partners to communicate with us and to be able to do the things they need to do through the cloud, and the future of what we set out in the software modernization strategy, OCONUS, tactical edge, et cetera. So all of these things intersect. And then, of course, the infrastructure backbone, there's the networks. We continue to try to get rid of legacy systems, but also enable the infrastructure that we need in the future of the cloud.
On that backbone question, just in our last minute here, I wondered, kind of hearkening back to your last job, what were wireless plays here, especially as 5G and next G type things come online? Do you foresee being able to replace a lot of that more complicated and sometimes costly physical infrastructure or wired infrastructure with 5G type solutions?
So we do have our deputy CIO for C3 actually deals with 5G and spectrum. It's huge in our department. That's one of the things in the DoD CIO portfolio. And I have a spectrum background. So absolutely, spectrum plays and 5G and wireless capabilities, broadband capabilities, plays a huge role in the department's ability to do its mission. It's part of the toolkit of things that we require. So absolutely.
All right. I think we're going to have to leave it right about there for time. It's been a really great discussion, Ms. Zielecki. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Jared.
And we've been talking with Lily Zielecki, the acting deputy DoD CIO for Information Enterprise. I'm Jared Serbu. You're listening to Federal News Network. Thanks for tuning in.